You know what? This is the review itself. I'm not going to read this only because I don't want to spoil anything for anybody. Um, so you know what? I'm going to come back to that story. I'm going to totally cut this out. But there is other James Gunn. There is James Gunn news. Okay. Um, so let's pass on this one here. Okay. Um, we are going to do a James Gunn story though. I promise. And that is we're going to do Superman Legacy instead because I didn't read that and I don't want to spoil it for anybody and I don't want to be that guy. Okay, but Kevin does say here Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 will fall in line with box office total Wakanda Forever. Yeah, it's going to do big numbers, Kevin. I have no doubt in my mind. It's all going to, so right now it's lining up to do $130 million. That was the projection about a month ago. Um, if it does that, it's going to win at least 2 weekends, the 5th and the 12th. And that means it's going to make about $200 million. And then you're going to have Fast 10. And then depending on how Fast 10 does, it could even make more money. So, absolutely. But I didn't want to, like I said, I'm just going to cut that portion out. We're going to do another James Gunn story right now. And this is having to deal and to do with Superman Legacy. So, um, um, let's go to this article here from Variety instead. And basically it says that, so the headline reads, James Gunn wants a Superman who has, quote, humanity and is, quote, somebody you can hug, end quote. James Gunn told Variety Thursday night that his upcoming DC movies, Guardians of the, I almost said Guardians of the Galaxy. I have Guardians of the Galaxy on my brain, guys. DC movies Superman Legacy hasn't found its leading man just yet, but the production is considering, quote, some really good choices, end quote. On the red carpet for Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, MCU actors also teased whether they're going to join the director for his upcoming DC movie. Gunn explained exactly what he's looking for in his Clark Kent. The next Superman has to be someone who has all the humanity that Superman has, but he also has to be an alien, Gunn told Variety's Mark Malkin. It's got to be somebody who has the kindness and compassion that Superman has and be somebody you want to give a hug to. As for whether or not Gunn is recruiting Guardian star Chris Pratt for the role, he said, quote, it's not Chris Pratt. If he was a few years younger, maybe. And that's interesting, and we'll get back to that in a couple of minutes. The DC co-head announced in December that he was writing the upcoming feature in March, and then he confirmed that Superman Legacy, the director, he revealed that, quote, costumes, production design, and more are now up and running, end quote. One of the actresses actress who plays Mantis in the Guardians films says she's talking about Gunn about crossing over to the DC world. We've had conversations and we've been making plans already, but nothing is confirmed yet. She has her eye on one character, but she can't reveal who she is. Just that she's always, quote, thought this character would be fucking cool, end quote. Though she may be joining Gunn for Superman Legacy, MCU newcomer Adam Poulter intends to stay with Marvel. He revealed he just hasn't thought about auditioning as Gunn's Superman. Not till now, he said. No, but I'm grateful to be in this, so for the time being that I am. Grateful for that alone. Directed by Gunn, Guardians of the Galaxy hits theaters next week, and the latest film stars Pratt, Adam Poulter, Zoe Saldana, Bradley Cooper, Dave Bautista, Vin Diesel, Karen Gillian, Sean Gunn, Sylvester Stallone, and others. Okay, let's talk about it. So I think this is an interesting nugget, okay, because Chris Pratt is one of those guys that he's been in two major franchises already. And I'm talking about Jurassic Park, and I'm talking about Guardians of the Galaxy, right? And it's interesting because Pratt, okay, if we look at how old he is, he's 43 years old. Now, it's fascinating because if we go back down to this quote and says If he was a few years younger, then maybe. So my question then is, a few years younger, so are we talking like 35ish? Are we talking about like 38ish? It's interesting because then you can start to really narrow down who could play this part, right? So you know that they've got to. I mean, I mean, they're a generic, they're a default character, okay, right? It could be an African American playing, but everyone we've ever seen has been Caucasian. So that means they're Caucasian. They're probably going to be 35 to 40, okay, and they've got to be well known, okay. Now they don't have to be well known, but the thing for me is they have to be well known because you have to put them on the marquee. Okay, if you put an unknown on the marquee, um, I find it difficult that you're going to be able to um, do this. That being said, um, he is 43 years old. Obviously, it's not Pratt. You know that. Um, I think that no matter who it is, they're going to do a good job. And I also think that it's one of those things where, um, yeah, I mean, I just think, but it is fascinating to see what he said, and that Poulter hasn't actually done it. He could be a front runner because he's worked with him, in these Guardians films. Anyways, I thought that was an interesting, which tells you that the tone of the film too. If you want somebody that he can hug and he's compassionate and everything else, because really, when you think about it, Henry Cavill wasn't that kind of guy. He wasn't that teddy bear type of guy, and that's another characteristic and trait they're going to be looking for. So, anyways, guys, what do you think? What do you think about James Gunn's comments about being somebody, he should be able to hug? Um, are you do you have a couple people in mind that you would like to see be playing Superman? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and I'll get back to everybody.